Hello, everyone. I'm Matt Williamson. What's going on? It is hot. And here's what, pull back the curtain. I did it too late, but I put out the bat signal for Matt's mailbag questions this week, but I had to record now, and I only put it out like 15, 20 minutes ago, and just didn't get enough questions, but I'm sure they'll be filtering in like crazy. I'll record a mailbag tomorrow, and I'm sure there'll be a million questions over that 24-hour stretch. And if you want to hit me up with more, at Williamson NFL, it's the best way. I do my best to read the YouTube comments as well. Usually they're very kind. Thank you very much. But I did have three things I've been just kind of holding back that I've been wanting to chat about too. And we're going to wrap them all up today. So this is disheartening that last year, the Steelers were 8-0 in games when they allowed 18 points or fewer. That's great. You know, I mean, 8-0 in any circumstance is awesome over 17 game schedule. And 18 points isn't 12 points or less. You know, I mean, it's a good day at the office, obviously, in any NFL game if you hold your opponent to 18 or less. They were 8-0. But as you might have figured out, when they allow 19 or more, they were 2-8. And I think that just encapsulates the season a great deal, or really recent Steeler history, where the offense isn't doing their the legwork here. They're not holding up their end of the bargain. And to make it even worse, if you go look at the games where they were 8-0 and allowed 18 or fewer, it wasn't exactly against a murderer's row of quarterbacks. Now, one of them was Aaron Rodgers, but there were some backups in there. There were some Browns in there. I mean, it was not against, obviously, the Mahomes, Hurts, Lamar type of guys. You know, so bad competition. They stomped on them. Bad competition is a strong word, but bad quarterbacks, bad offenses. Stomped on them, kept them under 18, win the game that way. I mean, that's the recent recipe, and it's a tough recipe to engage in, especially when you get up against playoff caliber quarterbacks, which we've seen. So it's kind of a good stat. It's mostly a bad stat. I mean, again, you ended up with 10 wins. That's fine. But you still they're incapable of winning shootouts or even moderately scoring games with any kind of regularity. So there's that. Hopefully, Rodgers narrows that gap to some degree. I would think he should. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. With baseball season in full swing, BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. We keep the dog days of summer rolling with the largest selection of odds on everything, with updated odds on MLB, UFC, and boxing, to tennis and NFL futures. BetOnline has remained the best online source for all your sports wagering info. In between games, head over to BetOnline Casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here. So speaking about being so defensive reliant, I dug this up too. So from week 10 to the end of the regular season, the defense was 18th in the EPA. Okay, I mean, the competition was brutal. They were starting to be on the field a lot. Some age and things were working against them. They're playing against Lamars and Mahomes and Burrows and Eagles, etc. as the season went on from week 10 onward. And 18th isn't that horrible, but they were 30th in success rate at the very bottom. Well, what's the difference between EPA and success rate? Well, here, I'll just tell you about success rate. Success rate is if the play was considered a success or not. So if you look at it through an offensive lens, and obviously the exact opposite is true for a defensive lens, on 1st and 10, if you get 4 or more yards, that is considered a successful play. On 2nd and whatever, if you get half the down and distance, if it's 2nd and 8 and you get 4, if it's 2nd and 10 and you get 5, that's considered a successful play. On 3rd or 4th down, the only success is getting a first down. So it's kind of a consistency stat. Like their EPA was better because they made a lot of splash plays. They took the ball away, big plays. But this is just a down in, down out. Is your defense successful? Play after play. Success rate. So from week 10 onward, they were one of the least successful defenses down after down. And that can't happen. And I think that's a big reason why they've added a lot of depth as well as a first-round pick at defensive tackle. Depth, they're deeper at inside linebacker. They're deeper at outside linebacker. They're deeper at safety. That the big people positions are presumably in better shape, more physical, able to distribute snaps a fair amount, better than they did. So I think they're aware of that, and also they played a lot better competition, and the offense didn't hold their end up either. So there's that. Last thing I want to talk about, and it's gotten a lot of questions over the last 2 weeks that are Pat Freiermuth based. Has he had a successful career? Is he ready for a breakout? Will Rodgers be good for Freiermuth? We've heard the Kyle Pitts and Jonnu Smith rumors. Is that a knock on Freiermuth? It's a good question. I want to start it by saying, unlike other positions, tight ends, there's tons of data about this. Tight ends hit their stride at age 27. Rarely do they burst on the scene and play their best ball of their career. He's 26. So in a way, it's kind of his time to shine. I'm not saying it's time to break out, but it's time to be even better, to really hit your prime. Age 26, 27, 28 is really when tight ends peak, where a lot of receivers, especially running backs, are much younger. So it's kind of put up or shut up time. That implies that he's been a disappointment, and I don't think he is. I would have re-signed him when they did. As it stands right now, if they were to run this roster back for the entire season, he would be my bet as second leading receiver on the team, which is also an indictment on the other pass catchers / wide receivers. I would hope you could find somebody that would be better. But I tend to think his best football is ahead of him. I don't think he's ever going to be a top 8 tight end. His blocking's improved, but it's not great. He's good after the catch, but it's not great. He's a good athlete. I like his mental makeup. I think he's well-liked by teammates. Easy guy to root for, all those things. I don't have a problem with his contract. I also don't think tight end is a need. I wouldn't say, man, you better draft a tight end early next year, or, especially with Washington in the mix. So I do understand why a lot of you want to ask about him, but I don't think there's this black or white answer that he stinks or he's awesome. He's a good quality contributor, probably with a better quarterback. You would think 10% better of him. You know what I mean? Certainly the middle of the field passing hasn't been there. I don't think Matt Canada did him any favors either. So I'm expecting his best season to date. And if we don't get that, then maybe it's time to be a little more critical of him, especially with Rodgers. Thrown over the middle more, more of that 10 to 20 yard range, better play designs in general. So I'm curious what you guys think of Muth. Are you a Muth fan, or are you, I like him. He's a B. That's kind of where I'm at. I mean, he's a B. He's not an A+. He's not a D. But I can understand why a lot of you ask about him. So, all right, everyone, stay cool. Over and out.